tank for 2015. So, Jim, thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you very much for having me today. I hope to get across three major points today in this presentation. First being product and service matter. Second point is online reviews are really impactful, and they're going to be impactful for your ADR and your overall hotel revenue. And the third point is we as an organization are here to help. We're here to help you grow your business and help your business thrive in this economy. So it's really about the guest proposal, and to me the guest proposition is really a three-part equation. It's the products that we have, the hotel we have, the services we provide, and then it ends up being the price I'm willing to pay for those. From a product standpoint, we have a huge effort going on to improve the overall quality of our properties. You'll see a lot coming from Jordan, Peter Casey, and I later on this year talking about quality and how do we improve it and how do we work better together to do that. Today we're going to spend the majority of our time talking about service. How do we enhance the overall guest experience and add value to customers? Just to give you an idea what we'll talk about today, I'll share some data with you. We'll spend a fair amount of time going through information. I'm a firm believer data should bring things to life on what can be impactful to the business. So I believe this data will help share why we're focusing on these two areas. We'll talk a little bit about TripAdvisor, whether we like TripAdvisor or not. And this isn't a paid political advertisement for TripAdvisor, but TripAdvisor is growing and it's not going away. So we're going to spend a little bit of time, talking about TripAdvisor, how you and us can impact your business working with TripAdvisor. Majority of the time I'll spend it going over some key principles for delivering great customer service and really creating a wow customer service experience. I'll spend just a little bit of time talking about keeping and finding great employees, because ultimately they're going to help you drive your business and help enhance that guest experience. If you've got people sticking around your business, especially people that are passionate about the guest experience. For me, it's always about what's in it for you. Why would I do this? Why am I interested in improving the property? Why am I interested in investing in the guest experience? So I'll spend a little bit of time talking about that. And then at the end, as Rita said, we will open it up for Q&A. So let's get in a little bit right off the bat for what's in it for you. If we improve the properties, improve the overall guest experience, we're going to end up with increase in satisfied customers. Increase in satisfied customers going to give us some more repeat business, ultimately more revenue in your hotel. We're going to get better TripAdvisor reviews and overall rating. I'll share this with you a little bit later on, but we certainly can correlate, and I'll give you three different studies that tie together higher reviews with a higher ADR and ultimately more revenue in your hotel. You'll help us overall build the brand, support building a stronger Vantage brand, whether it's any of our six brands, to help we grow this business together. If we grow this business, it ultimately will be more revenue to your hotel. Also, we'll see an increase in QA scores. Ultimately, it'll be more business, whether that's group business, whether that's travel industry sales, or the tour travel business, or more repeat business. But as we build this brand together, we will grow the business. By creating that wow experience, you're going to see less guest complaints, more revenue, and just a pleasanter experience in general. I tell people all the time, I would consider myself the ultimate customer. I get wowed on a regular basis, but it's usually wowed for not the right reasons. Really, wow, that was really bad. Wow, that person didn't seem like they cared at all. Wow, I can't believe that person wasn't listening. So I'll challenge us, even if it's in the everyday life, try to create that wow experience to everybody. And put a smile on people's in people's life for that day. You're going to get more satisfied employees. If they're creating that wow experience, it's going to be a more enjoyable place to be a part of, a little more fun. So if you get more satisfied employees, you're going to have less turnover, and you'll have higher quality people that will ultimately help you bring this experience to life. And in the end of the day, it's going to be more dollars in your pocket because we're going to be driving the hotel business and driving your overall revenue. As we get into talk a little bit about some data, If I look at last year's results from a guest relations standpoint, we take about 150,000 phone calls through our reservations, guest complaint, loyalty programs. Breaks down to about 125 in reservations. We get 15,000 guest feedback, and the majority of them, probably 98% of them, are complaints, so I'll just call them complaints. And then about 10,000 between loyalty and all other. Out of those 15,000 complaints, as I believe you all know, we don't actually speak to that customer, the majority of those customers live, though we will shortly. We direct them through a voicemail to fill out a written complaint. And we see only about 30 to 35% of them fill out a written complaint. I'll challenge all of us. Some people say, gee, that's great. I think we have 10 to 11,000 that are complaining to somebody else. They ultimately didn't write us and spend the time to write us, but they complain to their relatives, they complain to their friends, they complained on TripAdvisor. They will find a way to provide that feedback. And overall, when we get these 5,500 complaints, it takes us over 8 days to resolve them. I think that's a long time. I think some complaints will take us a little bit of time to resolve because it will take us to do some research. But I'll challenge us. One of the goals I'm going to throw out is I would love to see us. I know we have a goal of 5 days, or board-approved goal of 5 days. I'd like to see us get to a resolution within 3 days. Our guest relations team of Deb, Lee, Sandra, and Joanne, myself, are going to work closely with you, try to call you, work with you to resolve that issue as quick as possible and as timely as possible. Out of the over 5,500 complaints, here's a breakdown of the complaints. As you see, and this is going to tie into quality because the top 4 complaints are housekeeping, maintenance, product quality, or overall service quality. And if I look to the left, the next highest one is billing, which we had over 700 billing complaints this year. So that's all wrapped really around the quality of the product and services that we're delivering. Then I go into our QA scores, and this is QA, as we go out and do the internal inspections of the properties. And this is the last 2 years, because basically they're the same the last 2 years. We're saying, though I don't believe our guests are saying the same thing, that 90% of our properties are an A and a B property. If I look at TripAdvisor scores, kind of interesting, TripAdvisor scores run right along with this. This is over the last 2 years. As you see, they really follow the same curve. It's more of a bell curve, where our guests, from a TripAdvisor standpoint, are saying we're more in the 3s, 3.5s to 2s, but certainly not in the 5s, the center of excellent, or 4 pluses. And I'll share a little bit with you on some TripAdvisor overall ratings a little bit later. But to me, that's a different curve if I look at both curves together, being TripAdvisor on the top. And we average about 2.95 as a TripAdvisor rating. And our overall QA score over the last year was 486. As I said, mainly A's and B's. They don't seem to match up. I'm going to challenge us to really focus on the properties that are under the 3, because again, on the next slide, I think I'll share how much money is out there if we drive our TripAdvisor scores up over the 3, and we figure almost every half a point in a TripAdvisor rating is worth $5 from an ADR. And I realize that's market-to-market specific, but I'm going to give you 3 different studies that correlate better TripAdvisor ratings to increased ADR. And this is just looking at ABVI last year for a hotel that is over with a TripAdvisor rating of 3+. They average $65 in ADR, and anyone under 3 is averaging $57. So over $8 that we're leaving on the table if we drive that TripAdvisor score up. This is a study from New York University. It's called Trust You. It's New York University Center of Hospitality and Tourism. This is really talking about how travelers get recommendations and where they get their recommendations from to stay in a hotel. The 2 main ones, recommendations from somebody else or reviews from consumers. And this is a breakdown between leisure and business travel, and they're both basically the same. I didn't share the business one. This is the leisure, but the business one really matches up. As you can see, how very important recommendations and reviews come into play from an online travel standpoint. The next slide, this is to me a fairly amazing slide through this study. This is how much people would pay more, how much would people pay more for a hotel that has a higher review score. I look at myself, would I spend $10 extra to stay in a hotel and have peace of mind where the hotel has a better review than another hotel that's $10 cheaper? I certainly would. And this study shows that over 76% of guests surveyed would pay more to get peace of mind, would pay more if a online review had a higher review. That to me is an amazing stat. And that's from an independent New York University Center of Hospitality and Tourism. I'll share some Cornell University studies, and then we'll go into TripAdvisor now also. So as I said about TripAdvisor earlier, they're not going away. Whether we like TripAdvisor or don't, we have lots of different feedback on TripAdvisor. But this is just a little hockey stick growth where TripAdvisor has gone over the last 12 years. Today they have over 70 million members and over 190 million reviews. It's phenomenal growth and taking off. TripAdvisor was here last week talking about this. They anticipate the same growth in 2015 as they saw in 13, 14 to now go into 15. Amazing growth. And like I said, whether we like it or not, TripAdvisor matters, and we need to figure out how to manage it better because there's money on the table if we drive our TripAdvisor ratings up. And we're here to work with you to help do that. Just a little couple stats on TripAdvisor. They have over 300 million unique monthly visits, 190 million reviews and opinions last year, 70 million members right now, and every minute they have 100+ people providing feedback into TripAdvisor. An amazing stat to me. From a reviews and a booking standpoint, this is just a 93% of travelers making their booking decisions based on online reviews. And your hoteliers are looking at them also, 96%. This is something from Cornell, which really says guests are visiting TripAdvisor more and more. We certainly see that in the stats. The property's brand reputation is going to help it perform and grow overall. And the Cornell study shows that if the higher TripAdvisor ratings can draw up to 11% increase in occupancy and hotel rates. A little bit of driver on what people why people are choosing hotels, what they're looking for. I don't think this is any big surprise to us. I know for myself, from a traveler standpoint, my son and I traveled. We've been on 2 trips the last year. I said, let's experiment with hotels under $75. But as I told him, my son eats like a horse. I've been known to have a couple big meals myself. We figure breakfast is worth for us $40, $20 a piece for breakfast we'd spend if we went outside of a hotel. And my son's in school, so he had to do some schoolwork. I am business, need to do some work, so Wi-Fi was real important to us. And it correlates into what TripAdvisor is saying also. 75% of travelers are 75 to 83% of travelers are expecting good quality Wi-Fi. They're looking for a free breakfast. They're also looking for free parking and shuttles. But the big drivers are Wi-Fi and free breakfast. I think we spoke to that a lot in our conference around the priority around providing good quality Wi-Fi throughout your hotel and a good quality breakfast if we're advertising a breakfast, because it certainly drives why people stay. This is just a supporting piece. It talks about price. Price is certainly key. You can't, as you know, you can't price yourself out of the market. But the big drivers are, what do you offer me? Are there any specials you're offering me? What are the amenities that you have in your hotel that would add value to me? Number 3 is my previous experience at your hotel. And the 4th driver is the online reviews. little bit of feedback on who's providing the reviews and how often. 29% of the people are telling us they're putting a review in a couple times a month, 12% or at least once a month, and 26% are putting reviews in more than once a week into TripAdvisor. So now we understand why it's growing. From a TripAdvisor perspective, 80% of their travelers, which that group is growing dramatically, are saying that they feel a lot more confident making their travel decisions based on the feedback, the reviews that are in TripAdvisor. Now, the other piece that really matters that we're seeing more and more is your response to the feedback. So your response matters. It matters from a timeliness, from a friendliness, from a saying thank you to the guest for providing the feedback. I'm not going to ask you to apologize. You'll figure that out if that's applicable or not. But certainly a thank you for taking the time to provide me feedback. I suggest you, when you do respond, that you do it within 24 hours. You reinforce the positives, because usually they say something good about the hotel also, and then they talk about what they didn't like. And then you explain that issue and how you're going to help resolve that issue so it doesn't happen in the future, because other folks, other travelers are looking at your responses. Do you care about your hotel? Are you responding to the traveler? And then how did you respond to that traveler? Did you respond in a combative way, or in a, I'm explaining the business and why this happened and why I'm going to do something differently? We also see from a TripAdvisor standpoint that your responses correlate into how your rating is in TripAdvisor. So we see, when this is TripAdvisor data, when management does not respond to any feedback that a guest would provide, their rating is under 4. And then you can see if 65% of the responses are made, it correlates to a higher than 4.15 average TripAdvisor rating. If I tie that back into what TripAdvisor is doing, this is an overall industry, from an overall travel industry segment. TripAdvisor overall is 4.25. I think I shared with you our overall rating for, overall Vantage rating for 2014 was 2.95. And I think where it correlates the difference, so TripAdvisor is on the left with their 4.12 rating. Vantage on the right with our 2.95. I wasn't creative enough to put the highs and the lows together, so I'm going to do it this way. If you look at how this looks from a center of excellence, how many Vantage reviews are 5 and above, or 5, excuse me. As you see, it's a very small number, where overall TripAdvisor is almost 50%. And if you look at the ones 2.5 and below, it's a fair amount of our overall ratings. From an overall industry standpoint, less than 3 is less than 20%. So hopefully that correlates to, we have some opportunities, but we're all in this boat together, and we're going to talk about some tools, techniques, and tips to help drive up those scores. And again, we look at it from a guest relations standpoint. The guest relations touches everything, so we're here between our member services, member care management team, our SSAP team, the overall Vantage corporate team are here to help you improve your overall business. We'll help you respond to guest complaints, provide some helpful tips in order to do that constructively and help drive up those rankings. From an overall customer experience, so here's, I guess, I've been in this customer service business for a number of years, more than I'd like to admit. I'm going to go through the things that I believe drive a positive guest experience. And really, it all starts with me or you. Great service starts with you. You've got to have the mindset to say, great service starts with me. I expect my employees to deliver great service. I tell people all the time, to me, great service is free. You're going to pay someone, or it's going to be yourself at your front desk. You're going to pay someone to do house cleaning. For them to create a great or a happy guest experience is up to them. It's a matter of the attitude that they have, but we ultimately drive that with the standards that we set. So I challenge us to lead by example. You, I, set the service and quality standards. We set the tone. We set the pace of what we expect. I'll challenge us to resolve problems. Don't just fix issues. I use the example of billing. If we had 700 billing complaints next year, I'd be a little disappointed unless we've had phenomenal growth, because to me, that's an issue that we could resolve to fix. That's a problem that we have, and we spend a fair amount of time just fixing the daily issue of a billing type complaint, whereas we could go down, dig into the deeper problem, and find out why we have the billing complaints. Why aren't we giving out the right reservation rate? And continue to offer value-added products and services. After you do all those things to create that great guest experience, I believe you create a lot of trust, and you have an opportunity to sell them something more. I'll challenge us to be a pro. Be a pro at delivering quality service and communication. We set that tone of how service should be communicated and delivered. The hotel quality, the property that we have, and be a pro at developing our employees, what we expect out of employees. Create that wow experience. I tell people, the wow experience is really, how do you make me feel? Great service it's not easy, but it really takes a certain attitude, and it's not for everybody, by the way. But if you have the right attitude, it'll go a long way. To me, attitude's a very small thing that makes a huge difference. And the great thing about an attitude is, it's strictly up to you. You control if your attitude is really positive or really not so positive. You control how you respond to customers, guests, no matter how challenging they are, and I certainly realize they can be challenging, but I've also always found in my career that you can nice people to death. And 95% of the people, it works on. There's some that are just crazy, it's not going to work on, but I've never tried to create the rules for the 5% that are crazy versus the 95% it actually works. Ingrain the service culture and service attitude, ingrain service attitude into your culture of your hotel, and follow the service model. I'm going to go through this because it absolutely works for the majority of guests and employees, by the way. And we'll also talk a little bit about some value-added reporting that hopefully will help us bring some things to life and drive our business and ultimately drive revenue into your hotel. So one of the initiatives we have from an overall Vantage standpoint is work better together, as we're calling it, to help drive and build the Vantage brand. We're going to do that by doing 4 things. Improve the overall product quality, add value to members, and we define add value is how do we drive revenue to your hotel, increase revenue and overall revenue and sales, and then drive and improve the overall guest experience. From a reporting standpoint, the reporting from my perspective ought to drive results, ought to give us some opportunity to show us how to improve service, add value to you as members, grow revenue and increase sales, improve employee productivity, and overall enhance brand awareness. Then we're going to overall improve the overall TripAdvisor scores. So for me, I always try to paint a picture of, if we do all these things, what should it look like at the end of the day? What it should look like is our guest feedback ought to become much more positive. We'll see more positive complaints. We'll see more positive comments. We'll see less complaints. We'll start resolving complaints quicker. Again, my goal is within 3 days, and we'll have more satisfied guests. Our TripAdvisor scores are going to go up. I'm throwing out a goal to get up above 3.25 this year. I think that is attainable. There's lots of different ways we can do that, but I'm giving us an overall goal to get up above over 3 and hit 3.25 this year. We'll do that by seeing more guest positive posts for us. If we start to see that, we're going to see member revenue grow. Our goal as a corporation this year is to develop I'm going to call it cool and value-added guest loyalty program that will add value from a member standpoint to drive revenue, add value from a guest standpoint to keep showing up at one of the Vantage branded hotels. Improve, work better together as an organization. We talked about that a little bit on the 4 drivers for that. If we do that well, we'll see employee satisfaction and productivity will improve. We're looking from our development team to continue to add more hotels to the Vantage brands. That will help you as a hotelier also. We want to see the brand reputation improve faster. There's certainly a lot of press about Vantage and all the great things that are going on within our company. We'd like to see this brand reputation continue to grow faster. Now I'm going to get into the wow experience. I think our guests make it very, very clear. They're expecting a clean, safe, and a friendly, caring / hotel experience. I call that the wow factor. To me, there's 7 points to the wow factor. And as I said before, it's really about the small things. The how did you make me feel? I'm going to try to play a little video. I'm going to play a brief one. Hopefully you can hear it. But it's really about a guest experience and how did this guest, this person, make the guest feel.
Diet Coke to offset the effect. And it comes up in 20 minutes. That was less time than they said. And the picture didn't even do justice to this amazing hamburger and the steak fries was molded brown perfect. Everything's so hot. It's from my diet. I don't like that. I'm talking about that one thing. I like Diet Coke better than they said, well, there's a lime. You put lime in there, maybe it tastes like that. You put lime, buttons, cigarettes. It doesn't matter what you put in there. It's going to be a Diet Coke. But there was ice water. I said, that's fine. Thanks. But, oh, I'm so sorry. We apologize. We're out of the room service kitchen. And convection is okay. I'm 20 now, and thank you very much for bringing this. Not even 30 seconds later, bam, 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 knocking on my door with an ice cold Diet Coke. Now I'm suspicious. Where'd that come from? So I found this 4 floors down the machine. Started like to happen.
So I don't know if you could hear that, but it's really about a guest who was staying at a hotel. He ordered room service, a hamburger with a Diet Coke. When room service came up and delivered, they had a great cheeseburger, but did not have a Diet Coke, had a Dr. Pepper, I believe. The guest basically said, I'm a little disappointed, but it's not a big deal. What the room service person did, though, is went 2 stories down, found a vending machine, bought a Diet Coke, and walked back up and gave it to the guest. So our challenge is, it might have been in the vending machine, a $2 Diet Coke. That went a huge way, because ultimately this gentleman's probably told this story 100,000 times about this very small thing, a $2 bottle of Diet Coke that went such a long way in that above and beyond customer guest gesture. Here's a little, and I'll just give you the Reader's Digest version, but on the opposite end of this. So this is one of our hotels. It's a testimonial that we get from a guest relations standpoint, and this is basically a customer that says, I stay at your hotel a lot. I always book a suite. Never stayed in a regular room, but we always love your hotel. I showed up at the hotel, and I showed up a little early. I asked the person at the door, at the front desk, if a suite was available. She was reading a book. She looked up. She didn't do anything but say, no, nothing's available until after 3 o'clock. That's when we check in. She made the guests feel like, I don't really care. She went back to reading her book. The guests walked away shaking their head. Ended up not checking into this hotel because of the way the front desk person made them feel, and went and checked into a different hotel. And as you know, lots of you have probably heard, sometimes it's about how you say it, not what you say. You know, it might have been, I stand up and say, gee, thanks for coming. I'm sorry, at this point we don't have any suites available. We're all booked up. I can check for you after 3 o'clock today. Could have gone a long way. We ultimately lost a guest with just a very small gesture on, can you check a room for me? So go back to the wow factor. To me, there are 7 things that go into the wow factor. First one, and I'm going to explain each one of these and give you some tools for success with this, and none of this is rocket science. This is be nice to me. As you're being nice to me, actively listen. You know, it really goes into show me you care. I find listening is one of the most challenging things people do in the service experience. So I'll talk about how we can actively listen much better. So then you show me you care. I'll challenge us to be a pro, be an expert, be a pro at our business. Make sure your hotels are clean. Make sure your staff is ready to go, and I'll explain all this, but be that pro, be that hotel expert. People don't expect everything to be perfect, and when we have a service breakdown, recover and resolve it quickly. Listen to that customer, understand what the challenges are. If it's our issue, let's own it and get it resolved. Make it easy for me. We're in the hospitality business, and it should be about make it easy for me to have a clean, safe, friendly hotel experience. I believe after you've done those 6 things, you build some trust, and customers will cut you some slack, especially if something happens that we have to resolve. But if you do these 6 things, you build the trust, you ultimately have the opportunity to sell people something. I'll call it transition, to offer someone a value-added product or hotel that we have out there versus selling them something. Because you've built that trust, you ought to be able to have a conversation, find out when their next day is, offer one of our other properties that we have in the Vantage family. I'm going to go into Be Nice. So to me, Be Nice starts with that reservation process that Vicki, Shell, and I are working on from an overall guest relations standpoint, but also that friendly front desk personnel, whether they call the hotel or they're showing up at the door. When they're showing up at the door, it's a very positive greeting. You use the guest's first name multiple times if possible. Ask them how the trip into the hotel was. What brought you to our area? You know, just a general conversation versus a transactional business approach. A little friendly, warm conversation. Ensure your staff, your overall staff, is friendly to every guest interaction, whether that's housekeeping, maintenance. You know, when they come in contact with a guest, have a smile. How's your stay going? And say thank you. I'm amazed at how many times people don't say thank you. And I'm also amazed at how many times when you do say thank you to people, they're so surprised. You know, so I'll challenge you to educate your staff and tell guests thank you. Thanks for staying. Thanks for giving me feedback. Thanks for being nice. Actively listening. To me, the best way to start to listen to someone is you really got to stop talking. Once you stop talking, make sure you're easy to speak to. Some people can be very challenging. You know, if you have your arms crossed and you're tapping your foot and you got a frown on your face, you're not necessarily easy to speak to. So if you're easy to speak to, you're actively listening, you're smiling, you got an occasional head nod, your body language is coming across as very approachable. You take the time to listen. You're patient. And you seek to understand. It's one of those Steve Covey rules of seek to understand. Very challenging. And sometimes it's challenging to take the time to actually listen. But if you're patient and seek to understand, you'll learn a lot. You don't have, I've always challenged people, you don't always have to have all the answers. You know, smart people don't always have the answers. Lots of smart people ask really smart questions, then they get good answers. So I challenge you to ask questions to your guests. Seek to understand. Don't jump to conclusions. I can't tell you how many guest complaints I received that part of the complaint was I tried to explain what was happening, and the person jumped down my throat to tell me why it wasn't my fault. It wasn't their fault, and it was my fault. So I'll challenge you to step back, seek to understand, and don't jump to a conclusion, and then respond appropriately. Be that expert. I touched on this a little bit. Make sure your staff is prepared to do their job. Called that game on. So they have all the tools, their uniforms, the training to do their job effectively. The rooms in the lobby areas are clean. Everything in the room is functional. You've got the cable. It's got the cable channel changer there. Your internet connection is working effectively. There's a clock in the room. It's got the right time. Phone in the room is in working order. The little things. Your rates are set up timely. You have minimum billing issues. Powerful tool for guests. Nothing worse than a guest checking in thinking they got one rate and leaving with a different rate. You're delivering on your advertisements. If you say you have a pool, let's make sure you do actually have a pool. Make sure your website is in conjunction with what you're actually offering. And have a customer complaint, guest complaint resolution process in place, whether that's you working with the guest relations team or your member care or your SSAP to help us get that guest feedback resolved timely, accurately, and friendly to move on to the next guest experience. And as I challenge everyone, guest complaints never go away on their own. So by us not resolving a guest complaint in 8 days, 10 days, 15 days, or never, it doesn't go away. They'll usually go tell, if they're complaining, they're going to go tell at least 10 more people. And now physically they're going to tell 10 people. And if they're going to go on one of our websites, online websites, they're going to tell a lot more. So I'll challenge us to try to resolve those complaints timely and spin that into, take it from a complaint to resolution to I'll come back to your hotel because you helped me understand what happened. You helped me understand what happened and what you're going to do about it going forward. And you value me as a guest in one of your hotels. If we have that service breakdown, and again, I don't believe people expect perfection, but when we do have a breakdown, let's try to resolve it timely. Remember, half of the service experience is, how did you make me feel? Something's happened in the hotel. Do you make me feel like you care? Did you make me feel like you want to listen to my issue and help resolve it? We do that by seeking to understand, listen, and show you care. If the issue's ours, listen, understand it, resolve it, and follow up to make sure it's fixed. And then respond timely and work with our guest relations team to get this feedback resolved in the appropriate time frame. And then make it easy for me. Again, we're in the hospitality business. Don't make me work for a clean, friendly service experience. Help me out where you can. Ask them where they're going. Can I help you with local directions? Do you need a place to eat? Let me share with you some of the local restaurants or some local community activities, attractions that you might not be aware of that since you're in town and have a little free time, you might enjoy. And you have a minimum, we talked about this, issues with reservations or room rates. And then offer those value-added products or services. That might be another that might be another Vantage property. Educate them on the guest loyalty program and the advantages of that. Again, that local restaurant, and if it's me, I actually ask that local restaurant to help me drive some employee satisfaction. Can you ask that local restaurant, could you come to the hotel once a month, once a quarter, deliver some free samples to the employees, and they'll ultimately be promoting the things on your menu and recommended in your hotel. We wash each other's hands, we work together. I'm driving your restaurant business, you're helping me drive my hotel business, and by the way, I got a little employee satisfaction piece in there with maybe some samples of the product. Educate them on the local attractions and build in some community loyalty within your area. Ask the guest from that value-added product or service, ask that guest to fill out a positive TripAdvisor response. One of the things that TripAdvisor talked about last week is that they're seeing a lot more as an in-stay response. Might ask your guests while they're there, how's their experience, and if you wouldn't mind filling out a TripAdvisor rating for us. Just a little reinforcement from a TripAdvisor standpoint, monitor your scores daily. Your scores are going to impact reservations decisions. Price isn't the only differential. Service is a big one. Timely feedback matters. Our suggestion is you address feedback within 24 hours. Contact the guest relations team if you need any help. We've got people, we've got letters, emails, templates that you can work off of. We'll help you craft that we continue to create that great guest experience. And when you fix the issue, ask the guest for some positive feedback. As far as hiring people, I'm going to just go over this quickly. It starts with who you're hiring. Hire people with the service attitude, with the right attitude, that guests come first. Develop your employees to take pride in the services that they deliver. Again, it's what you expect, and what you inspect is ultimately what you're going to expect. Make sure they genuinely feel the guest comes first. Get them involved in your hotel business. You can't do everything in your hotel, whether that's weekly, daily staff meetings, whether that be you help them lead some projects, some initiatives that you have them report back to, empower your employees to resolve guest issues. And remember, a great guest experience is all about the small gestures. As I wrap up, I'll challenge you, create that wow guest experience. It's about how you make that guest feel. It starts with you. It starts with an attitude. You've got to lead by example. Set the standards. Don't forget, it's about those small gestures. Little things go a long way. I'll share one more experience with you. Develop your people. Ingrain the service attitude into your culture. Attitude's a small thing, and it makes a huge difference, and attitude is all up to us. Follow the service model. It really does work. Work with your guest relations team, your member care care managers, and your SSP to resolve feedback timely. It's ultimately going to impact your TripAdvisor scores and your feedback, and you'll see more revenue into your hotel if we do all these things together. I'll share with you those small gestures. I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version, but this is another one of our testimonials. A guest who stated, I think this is our Gettysburg, Pennsylvania location. Had a great experience. It all started with the front desk clerk being very friendly, helpful, fun to talk to, and full of information about local attractions. My wife loved the hotel, the room. It was very clean. She loved the balcony because she liked to sit over the balcony and look out at the battlefield. They found their interaction with the hotel maintenance and cleaning and housekeeping staff. They were all very helpful and very personable. We actually did have some issues that required some maintenance. We called. It was resolved within 5 minutes of the desk. Speaking to the desk clerk, they were up there immediately. My wife can't stop talking about what a great experience we had. We'll definitely choose to stay at an ABVI hotel whenever we can. All about this little gesture of making me feel special as a guest. And then bring that wow experience to life, and it's these 7 things that go into the wow guest experience. And remember, there's always got to be something in it for you as we bring this all together, and it's really an increase in revenue in your ADR and more money in the pocket. Now we'll open it up for some questions. How did I do for timing, Ms. Rita?
You did pretty good.
Good.
Are there any questions?
Are there any questions? Now we turn on questions.
Are there any questions? Actually, you actually have a hand up.
Okay.
So hold on a second.
We're going to go right over there and address that hand that's up.
Okay, we're going to take them off.
Who's that?
Mayuri Shah.
Mayuri Shaw, you have a question?
Oops, I'm sorry. Hold on. I got to take it off. Mute. There we go.
Missouri Shaw. Okay, let's go to our next question.
Here we go.
How about Gary Gomez?
Gary, you're on. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's try Leslie.
That's Lindsay.
Lindsay, I mean.
She's
Lindsay.
down the hall.
Yeah. See if it's working.
Oh.
Actually, Katie Patel has a question. Is it possible to get a copy of this PowerPoint presentation?
Absolutely. If we see value in it, I'll absolutely send it. I'm going to give it out to your SSAP and member care specialist, and then they'll give it out, hand it out to you also.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other Q&A? Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up then. Wait, oh my goodness. Trina Nixon, I'm sorry. How do we stop persons who have been evicted from hotel that go on TripAdvisor and make false accusations?
So I don't know, I can take that. If you know that you feel that after you have asked someone to leave your hotel and they're going to give you a bad rating, you can go into your TripAdvisor account, into your management center, and I think it's called blackmail. And you can go in there and put some information in. You've got to be fairly specific, so if you have the person's name, that would be one of the things in there. And then if that person writes the review, someone from TripAdvisor is going to look at that, and if they deem it correlates into that bad review that really shouldn't be happening, they will block it from going on.
The next question was from
Okay.
Ms. Richards. I absolutely love this. Will it be available to show our employees some issues take longer than
That's a separate
the
question.
goal? Oh, I'm sorry. Will it be available to show our employees? Absolutely. Like I said at the beginning, this will be available for playback on the Vantage Academy website. It should be up within next week, and you'll be able to show it any time to your employees as a training module.
Yes. Also, Gary Gomez said some issues take longer to resolve. Absolutely, Gary, and I want to work with you as much as possible to get those resolved. I do believe there's a fair amount of issues out there that can be resolved quicker also that we could take care of more timely. And then the ones we need to research, work with you on, could take a lot longer.
Antonio, hello Antonio. Great topic. Can this be taken more in depth in Vantage Academy? And actually, Antonio, I will be hitting the road this year, focusing on customer service. So yes, we'll be addressing this in the various regions at Vantage Academy when I come to your area.
And the next one was Leon. Besides TripAdvisor, do you have any data about which third-party sites would be second best to respond to for reviews? So, I think one of the things that we see through our brand Karma, and I think if you sign up for VCI, you get that. I know one of our properties I was up visiting. Hopefully Barry wouldn't mind me using this, but I was working with Barry up in Melbourne. And he was saying, gee, I got to really do a better job responding to my TripAdvisor feedback. One of the things we noticed when I went through Brand Karma, TripAdvisor was providing minimum amount of feedback to him. His guests were really going through hotel.com at about 90% of them. So that was great information. So we have that. Work with your member care, your SSAP, or if you already have BCI, and Jesse and his team can help you work on that. But we have that information there for you on who's responding to which sites the most. Gary said, I live by it. Success is never final. Flawless execution is basics going the extra mile for our guests, and I agree. And so it's a never, I always call it the never-ending finish line. As soon as you think you got to that line, it moves. And the folks that are super successful continue to have that philosophy. Lena, is there a person to help the hotel respond to complaints? Absolutely. Sometimes it's difficult to respond politely, so if we can help. So yes, Lena, I think it's Lena. My team will help you, work with you. The member care team will also help. We have some templates. And I agree, some things are more challenging to respond to, but we do have some expertise in this, and we'd love to help you respond timely. Pat Brewer asked, practical ways to ask the guests that have great experience to write a review on TripAdvisor. So to me, part of it is just asking. We get lots of not so good reviews, and lots of times people love to give some positive feedback. So I would ask. Also, TripAdvisor has some business cards, and I think the first couple hundred are free. I can find out that information. I just don't remember the first 100 are free. That they're business cards that you can give out to a guest also, so they can take it with them if they don't want to do something right there, right in the hotel. That you can give with them and they can respond to. And that seems to be a very big tool to help write the reviews. Rita, I have something from Nick.
Hi, Rita. This is Naresh from Pennsylvania. Hello. Will you have a copy of this seminar topics? Can we see it online, or can we get this by email? Absolutely. Again, if this is going to be available for playback on Vantage Academy's website, as well as Jim is going to email this presentation out to various SSAPs and MCMs that will be available to show this with you.
That'll be by the end of the week.
Okay, so this has been a fabulous first Think Tank Thursday for 2015. I want to thank Jim for taking time out and doing such a great presentation.
I think we just have two more comments. Gary made a point of TripAdvisor won't use reviews from a hotel business center. They won't. So they're using the IP address, and they will block that. But someone can use it from their own personal computer, but they won't be able to use the business centers to write that.
Correct. Okay.
Lots of feedback.
Wow.
So let's go Caroline first. What about if the hotel is nice and clean, but the location is not the best? Customers always complain, no matter what.
Oh, so location, hotel's great, location's not great.
going to have to think about that one, Caroline, a little bit. I could give a response, but I'd like to think through that one, and I can follow up with you on that one. And then Annette in Wilmington. I have TripAdvisor cards and hand out to the guests with good reviews and haven't had any luck with responses. Do I feel like there's a timeline for guests to catch on? I don't. I guess, Annette, what I've always done is if I feel it's the right way to do it, I keep on doing it because eventually people are going to start.
Oh. Antonio is suggesting that you put the cards, that you have them back on the folio. That you're handing out to the guests when they're leaving, because obviously you're going to give them a receipt. So put the card on the folio. I think that's a great idea, Antonio. Thanks.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, for better or worse, it's for worse, actually. You know, people get angry enough, and then they want to write a negative response. And lots of times when they have a positive response, they don't. I've always said I'm going to keep on doing it because some will. I was in a meeting last night for a total different subject, but a gentleman showed up just to say thanks. He said, you know, I know you guys I'm on this board of directors for something. I know you get lots of complaints. I'm just coming in, taking time out of my day to come back in and say, you did something for me. I want to thank you because I know you don't get enough thanks. You know, so I keep at it.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Okay, so we're also having that there are other hotels that have an issue, that they have a wonderful hotel, but the location tends to be a challenge. So we will follow up with that.
Yeah, but there's a couple nice tips here. Trina Nixon says we're offering a discount on their next day if they put in a positive response. I'm not sure TripAdvisor would wrap them around that one, but that's okay. And then Heather is trying to be proactive, and they're putting the TripAdvisor card in the key pocket on check-in, so make sure everyone has it.
That's another good idea.
Again, thank you all. Hope it sounds like you found this very helpful. We'll have this presentation out by tomorrow. And then Rita has a couple closing thoughts.
Yeah, I just want to go ahead and let everybody know that the next think tank in March will be Thursday, the 12th, same time. And presenting will be Sean Brady from Ice Portal. They're a photo distribution for hospitality company. And it's basically how to make your hotel photogenic. These guys live and breathe hotel photos, so it's going to be a great presentation to give you tips on how to make your hotel photo ready and really take advantage of having all those photos out there. We've talked about that before, about having at least 20 photo properties or property photos out on your website, on TripAdvisor. So it's going to be a great presentation. I look forward to everybody coming in.